So last week we released a video clip. I believe it was on Tuesday. Tuesday maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
We were talking about the fact that the 2018 Myers is so much more brutal than the 1978 Myers, and that we felt like it kind of posed an interesting question. Has Michael Myers evolved from his 21-year-old self to his 60-year-old self in 2018? Now, obviously, I don't literally mean like has he physically or like literally or physically evolved? Has he like changed? Has he gained more muscle mass and become hulkish or whatever? Uh, I just mean in the mystery, the nature of the character, has that changed? Has he become a darker, more intense version of himself and a more significant presence than he already was? Like, basically, is this the version that Dr. Loomis was so afraid of? Is this what he was trying to prevent? And I think that's a pretty fair question, don't you?
Yeah. So like what? Wait. Explain that further. Like what kind of Michael are you expecting to see here
Well, I mean, it's going to be brutal. We know
in
that. I
terms of
mean,
his age? Like what significance does his age play in this? Like what are you expecting?
well, okay. So in the trailer, we talked about the line where Laurie says, the more he kills, the more he transcends. And I kind of brought it up last week a little bit, but I wanted to expand on it more because I felt like it's almost kind of crazy to equate 1978 Myers to 2018 Myers, because you would think the 21-year-old version of him would be more physically able to do some of the things,
Mm-hmm.
like to do more, to be more brutal. And then typically as you get older, you get weaker, you know you you can't do the same. And I know there are some jacked 60-year-olds out there, but typically when the older you get, the less you can do. Um but this version of Michael almost seems to have flipped that. The 60-year-old Michael that we are about to see in Halloween Kills is almost, I mean, 10 times more brutal than what we saw originally. Um, I mean, look at the first film. Michael kills Annie, he kills Linda, he kills Bob, which is possibly the most iconic kill of the entire franchise, when he lifts him up and like pins him to the wall with the knife. He killed Judith, obviously, when he was a kid. That was his first kill. There's the dog. There's Lester, Annie's poor dog that he strangles in the OG.
Spoiler alert.
And I know, and obviously there's the spoiler. What the hell are you talking about?
I
These
haven't
people
seen
have
it.
seen the original Halloween.
I haven't.
Yeah, you haven't in a while, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's the guy Loomis finds on the side of the road. But none of the deaths, with the exception of Bob, are really that brutal. I mean, nothing. It's nothing like we're seeing in Kills. I mean, he doesn't take the axe paladin thing and lift somebody up. He doesn't. It seems more brutal, and it almost seems like it's defying uh, what somebody could physically do at that age. That might sound a little insensitive to say that his kills in 1978 weren't as brutal as then. Obviously, he's killing people. Um, but so that's kind of what I mean. It seems like the 2018 version of him is more physically able and physically fit to do crazier kills and to do crazier things and survive crazier scenarios than the original version of him could. It's kind of strange, and it feeds into the mystery and the mystique of him. How is a 60-year-old man? A, how did he survive the fire? B, the homeboy's been shot, stabbed, punched. I mean, he's been almost burned alive. At this point, he's taken his toll of a beating as well, and he's still just kicking like nothing's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, do you have any thoughts? Uh, just kind of before we even dive in further, do you have any thoughts on, you know, How is this even possible? Or is it? Are we not supposed to understand how it's possible?
I mean, whenever I saw this trailer, I mean, I was more intrigued with how he was able to like still be this killing machine despite his age. Because like in my head, I was hoping on him just being like, you know, I was kind of hoping on him like showing his age. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like show that he is a 62-year-old man. So like most of the stuff he can do is like not really all that well. But
yeah,
instead, at the beginning, like before I even saw this trailer, I was expecting us to see a old man Michael like actually show like his age coming, but I think we're just moving way past that, and we're going into the mystery and mythology of Michael Myers. Because I mean, this guy's obviously way more stronger than what he was in
yeah.
the first Halloween movie. So like, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how they play off the lore of Michael Myers,
Right.
because in our eyes, we've seen him in like a multitude of movies, and the town's eyes in the movie, they've only seen him what, twice now at
Yeah.
this point. It was the initial one, and then there was
And
his
tonight,
return right
yeah,
now. Yeah. So it's gonna be like they don't know anything about this man except the fact that he's been around for this long and he's still just as much as a killing machine.
right.
So it's like, and I'm sure there's been plenty of like, I'm thinking within the universe of this movie, like I'm pretty sure there's plenty of like horror stories, ghost stories, supernatural stories about
It's been
Michael Myers. So
he's a
like,
legend at this point,
yeah,
because of what happened.
he's became a legend. So knowing that this um, human being or just supernatural human being is back out into the wild, I mean, the sky's the limit to what these people think he can do.
I
You know what I
know.
mean?
Well, and you
So
also have to think too, though. As a person, there's two ways they could think about this. Like you said, they could be like, "Holy crap, something's really wrong here," or they could get cocky, mob mentality.
mhm,
They get cocky and they're
mhm.
like, "60-year-old man, like he can't take all of us."
I want to see
You
that.
know what I
I
mean?
want to see someone
Uh,
say that in the
and
movie.
again, you mentioned this last week, and I loved it. And we're going to talk about this a little further into the night too. We're just getting started. Uh, where the idea of fear spreading. Um, I mean, they probably do start off cocky. They're like, we can take this guy, like the 60-year-old man. We got this. Like he can't take us all on. But when they start losing and they start finding more and more and more of the town
Bodies.
gone, it's just like, what? Like, how is it? This doesn't make any sense. Um, I kind of equate the here's my train of thought. When Laurie says the more he kills, the more he transcends, uh, there's a point that Laurie is trying to make. She's trying to emphasize the same thing that Dr. Loomis was when he was talking to Brackett in the original movie. When Loomis is sitting in the Myers house and he says, I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, blah, 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 blah. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face with the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, blah, yada, yada, yada. Loomis is trying to be like, yo, because Brackett doesn't really believe him. He's like, there is something wrong. Like, this is not this is not your normal everyday dude. Something is like really wrong with him. Like, there is a supernatural edge to him that I can't explain. I can't reach him. He's silent. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do anything. He just exists. And he's trying to say there's nothing remotely left human in him. He is a shape. He's the shape. He is a living, breathing shell of a human being. Um, so Laurie saying that makes sense. And I think every character has a natural evolution. And yes, even Michael Myers does, because I'm sure there are some people that would disagree with me on that. Um, but the question here is this a massive shift in who the character is? Or is it just the natural progression and the natural evolution of his character? Uh, I think it's not a massive shift. I think uh, basically this is a continuation. This is the next step in his evolution. Laurie saying that, because Laurie is obviously taking on the Dr. Loomis role here. She is that Laurie saying the more he kills, the more he transcends is a continuation of what Loomis said in 1978. Would you agree?
I would agree.
I think that's kind of how I've played it up in my mind. I think it's a really interesting conversation to have because I know a lot of people kind of think about this differently. And I mean, obviously, you can't take it quite as literally as this, but it's almost if Laurie is saying the more he kills, the more supernatural he becomes. It's like the more he defies logic and defies death, you know? The evolution.
It's like a succubus kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like he takes more energy from his victims,
Yeah.
and the more he takes, the more powerful he
It
becomes.
feeds him, like it feeds
Hmm.
his anger, it feed whatever it is that drives him. And of course we can't know what it is that drives him. That's the whole point, is you have no idea why. Whatever it is that drives him is fed when he's like, the more he does this, the more it feeds that. It's like throwing gasoline on the fire. uh, I feel like the evolution of his character within this new trilogy and within this timeline uh, is about the mystery. It's about the mystery surrounding him. It's a 60-year-old man, and it makes absolutely no sense that he can pick a dude up with an axe and bust glass with his bare hands and survive being shot and stabbed and everything in between. But it furthers the mystery. It's the secret that we can't figure out, and that's why he's so scary. That's why I think he's always going to be scarier than Freddy and Jason. Freddy scarier than Freddy. Uh, I think that's why he's going to be scarier than Freddy, because there's a realness to him. We don't understand him. You understand why Freddy does what he does. You understand why Jason does what he does. You kind of understand why Leatherface does what he does. Darth Vader, Thanos. You understand why they're doing what they're doing. Him, there's no motive. There's no clear reasoning as to why he does it. Now in Halloween Kills, maybe part of the shift of an evolution of his character, maybe we kind of solved the puzzle. Like, not really solved the puzzle, I guess, overall, but the fact that Laurie tried to burn him in the house, he's pissed. Like, at this point, he is pissed. I think it's safe to say that. And I mean, you may disagree with me, but I think at this point in the night, in the first film, maybe not. I don't think he was specifically going after her. In this film, which is literally minutes later, I think he's pissed. He's going after her. He is purposely trying to find her. And again, haven't read the script. I could be completely wrong. Um, but that's just kind
Well,
of that's my train of thought.
you notice that Laurie just does, like in the trailer. It shows Laurie and Michael just don't meet in the trailer. Like they have
They
not
really don't.
came face to face.
And I kind of don't
It
expect
was
them
mainly
to.
the daughter and the granddaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're not expecting Laurie and Michael to meet up at this movie?
No, and we'll talk about why. I told you all of this is connected. Every single like point we
Hmm.
have is they kind of interloop with each other. I don't expect Laurie and Michael to have really any interaction, if any, in this movie. I think if it were me, if I was writing the script, I would save that for Halloween Ends, because this is, how do I put it? I don't know. This is the Infinity War chapter of this new trilogy. Like, it wouldn't have made sense for all of the Avengers to come together in Infinity War, because then where you go. Uh, I feel like it wouldn't make sense, because in the end, at least in my mind, it has to come down between Michael and Laurie. Like, you can throw the U.S. military if you want at him, but it's not going to be meaningful unless it's Laurie and Michael, unless it's the two of them going head to toe, because that's the whole purpose. The tagline of the 2018 film was what was it? Fight your fate? No, something about
They had
fate.
fate.
But that's
They
the
had
whole.
fate in it. Easy.
Yeah, that's the whole. I mean, even look back to in the original film, her when Laurie looks out the window and he's like watching her from the car out front in school. Her teacher's talking about fate. I mean, fate is the whole deal with her character. That's part of her, um, part of the story for her character. and I feel like her fate is to die killing Michael. I think they need to die killing each other. Um, so yeah, I feel like this should not be Laurie shouldn't be the focus of Halloween Kills. And actually, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm glad you said that because um, I think the focus. This is my second point here. The focus of Halloween Kills needs to be on Haddonfield, on our secondary characters, if you will, and their response. Um, Evil dies tonight. The tagline for Halloween Kills. It's going to be really important to the trailer, but also after looking into it, I think it's got a bigger meaning for the overall plot and the direction of the movie as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Do
at
you think
first,
you? I was gonna say, so you think like I don't want to like jump ahead, but you think
you're
this
good.
movie is obviously just gonna be about Haddonfield against versus Michael?
I do. I think
Like it
this
could
is gonna.
almost be a Michael Myers versus Haddonfield titled movie. Like, you could honestly just put that title right there and it makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think it needs to be. I think this needs to be the. This needs to be where it hits the fan, like hard,
Mm-hmm.
like the train comes grinding to a stop, like there's a problem. Um, at first past when Laurie says evil dies tonight in the trailer, when her and Karen are sitting in the room, uh, I think it reflects her anger, it reflects her frustration, and it emphasizes the fact that she means business. She's like, this is happening, like we're killing him tonight, and that she's going to do anything and everything in her power to ensure, like she says, that Karen and Allison don't have to keep running. His rampage is over tonight. But if you dig a little bit deeper, I feel like there's a little bit more to that line. Um, and a few days ago, I may have tagged you. I don't know, on a Halloween Kills or a Halloween fan group. Honestly, I don't even remember which one it was. Uh, but I saw this and I wanted to talk about it because there's still some discussion on what exactly the crowd is chanting outside of the hospital in the trailer. Um, we both agreed. I think they're saying "Evil dies tonight," right? Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
I
Uh,
agree.
and obviously, the mob and the whole mob mentality is going to play a huge role because the working title was Mob Rules and blah 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 blah. We're fairly certain that they are chanting "Evil dies tonight," and I find it interesting that Laurie says that verbatim in the hospital to Karen, and coincidentally, not only is the crowd chanting that, but that's kind of the
That theme,
the theme of this movie, or the what am I trying to say? The phrase, the
the slang, the term,
I don't know
the
what I'm trying to say.
slogan,
You know what I mean.
trademark.
You know what I'm trying to say. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just it's coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we haven't read the leaked script. But my guess is that Laurie is going to have a Braveheart, this is Sparta moment with the crowd, where she inspires them to fight back against Michael. A call to arms. It's her way of ensuring that he will die tonight. That's part of her doing everything in her power, even though she's injured. She just came out of surgery, probably. She probably figures if she can get other people to fight with her, her odds are better. If you can get
Mm-hmm.
her plus her family plus the survivors of the original night in '78 plus the cops plus armed civilians, if everybody can rise up, your rednecks with guns, it's the 4th of July, America. If you can get all of that rolling, there's no way he can win. And again, when you read the updated synopsis, it makes sense, because the synopsis part of it says, as Laurie fights her pain and prepares to defend herself against him, she inspires all of Haddonfield to rise up against their unstoppable monster. The Strode women join a group of other survivors of Michael's first rampage, who decide to take matters into their own hands, forming a vigilante mob that sets out to hunt Michael down once and for all. Evil dies tonight. So again, there's Evil dies tonight again. I think the focus of this thing needs to be on the people of the mob. It needs to be on Karen and Allison and Tommy and Lindsay and Marion and Lonnie and everybody from the original movie fighting with the mob. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you
And I can
agree?
agree. I would agree. And that's honestly the reason why I'm hyped for this movie, because it's honestly like what I would imagine a situation like this would occur. Like if there was a serial killer out there and about, and it's just been causing such a ruckus. I mean, you would expect like the people of that town to come together. There
Right.
is a hmm, there is a this reminds me of a unsolved mystery episode of this gentleman who is just he's well known. I think it was like in the 80s. He's a well known individual in the town, and he's infamously known in that town to just cause hell for the entire community. Like
Yeah.
if you read up on his activities, he was just a terrible human being. And it got to the point where there was a town hall, just to figure out how do we stop this
Really?
man from continuing to
Wow.
terrorize the city? Yeah,
That
and
that actually sounds pretty
it's
similar.
interesting.
Except
Yeah,
this is going to be a little more on the spot.
yeah, it's gonna be a little more on the spot. Obviously, the case like at the end, like I'll tell you the way the case goes. Like obviously, town hall leaves and everyone's already pissed off, and there's like a mob going to the nearby bar where this gentleman is at, and one of the individuals shoots him, and
Yeah.
kills him on the spot. And the reason why it's unsolved is because the killer was never caught in front of 30 or 40 people. This man killed this infamously terrorizing gentleman of that town, and yet nobody knows who did it. So that's why it's an unsolved
Wow.
murder.
Yeah.
But it pretty much it's pretty much the same thing as what we're going to be seeing right now. It's basically the town
Right.
saying, we're tired of this serial killer. We're tired of him terrorizing us and killing so many people. So we're just going to come together and
Yeah.
go for it and just hunt this man down.
This happened once before. It's happening again. It stops here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It stops here. Yep.
Yeah. You know what else I
There's no
find?
third time to charm here.